All right, back at it again. All right, seeing the place to be. Rick Saratella here on our 19th edition. Unbelievable of the All Access Football Daily Show, the next hour of power. We're fresh off the confines of the Jersey Shore and live into your living room here today. I still got the salt water dripping off of my body. We got the mop head going on because it's a Football Friday affair. Buckle up, hunker down. We're going to go around the football universe. Woo, we got a jam-packed show for you today. I'm so happy to be here. You right? Are you happy it's Friday? Because we got some Friday night lights right here in New Jersey between the Rutgers Scarlet Knights and the Iowa Hawkeyes. This might be the biggest matchup in Piscataway all season long. Rutgers riding high, 3-0. It's the blackout, baby. We're going to talk about that. We're going to be about it later on in the show. We've also got another one between Tulsa and Oklahoma, and Oklahoma State, that is. I'll give you the lowdown there on some prospects, some names you need to know. The notebook is full today because we've got a CFL doubleheader. We're going to take a look at that later on in the show, talk about the CFL playoff hunt. We've also got NFL news and notes around the league coming up very shortly, and coming up at 10:40 a.m. Eastern. Make sure you buckle up and hunker down. Our guy, Bo Marchant, part of the NFL Draft Bible Familia, will be checking in, of course, a scout with those Hamilton Tiger Cats up north of the border. Also covers the Pittsburgh Steelers beat. We'll get a finger on the pulse report on the Steelers, and we'll hop and bop around, talk some CFL with Bo, and see what he's up to these days. Of course, he is the running man, and we are sprinting to the start of the show. We're going to start off with the Monday Night Football, or Thursday Night Football. It's been a long week here. Thursday Night Football, Bills, Dolphins. How about Miami? Keeping it competitive there, right? To the very end. Let's break it down. Monday or Thursday Night Football here with the Bills coming out on top. 10-point victory here. And, a lot of costly mistakes for the Miami Dolphins cost them this game. And you can point to the Tua fourth quarter interception, which, I don't know about you watching at home. I was just waiting for it. You knew the costly Tua interception was coming, and it came at a critical time. Terrell Bernard making that key pick kind of out of the sight of Tua there as the linebacker drifted over. I don't think Tua saw it out of his peripheral vision, but you know what? Those are the differences between wins and losses. And, listen, Sealer, you want to blame him on the roughing the kicker call. I have a problem with that play. And you saw Sealer, man, I'm just trying to block the kick. And in situations like that, you've got to be sure, you got to be positive you're going to get a hand on the ball, because if not, then what happens? Automatic first down, 15-yard penalty. Buffalo goes in and score. It's all over after that. But Sealer, it's hard to fault him for wanting to get after it, and that's part of the problems. You saw the kicker, the punter go down. Oh, my leg. Oh, he did a great acting job. But, hey, the NFL is going to call that. We all know that. And so Sealer with the costly roughing the kicker call. Also, Jordan Brooks. I mean, you got to be disciplined, guys. How many years now has the NFL been telling you, got to protect the quarterback, right? So when Jordan Brooks, little funny business after the play, he didn't need to tackle Josh Allen there. He could have just let it go. Instead, he gets flagged for a costly late hit. And that's going to be the downfall of Mike McDaniel here when it comes. And I think you gotta take the positive away from the Miami Dolphins, because they did play tough. They did play competitive. They never quit in this one. And they got a relatively easy schedule. They flashed it up on the game. I'm going to try to pull it up here. But they have the Saints next, and then they have some winnable games. So I do think that McDaniel is going to survive in the short term here. They're home against the Jets this week. Then they visit the Panthers. All right, both winnable games before they get to the Chargers and then the Browns, which is also a winnable game. So 3 out of the next 4 games, Miami, I mean, they have a shot to win. So if McDaniel can break on through to the other side, then maybe he hangs out a little bit longer. But, the thing that made me laugh a little bit in last night's broadcast was, I guess during the production meeting, I don't think Tom Brady was sitting in on this one, but the production meeting, the broadcast was telling us how Mike McDaniel and company wants to use the Dolphins' speed to intimidate the Buffalo Bills. And, speed is a great asset and you can't teach it. And NFL teams are always going to be in love with it. But I'm not sure speed is going to strike the fear into the Buffalo Bills or any program around the National Football League. Now, there was a lot of speed on the field mixed in with a little bit of power. Now, Tua, we mentioned 22 of 34, the costly interception. He was playing efficient, 2 touchdowns before that, only 146 passing yards on the night. And you saw both Tyreek Hill, Jaden Waddle had a touchdown. Ryan Fitzpatrick doing a guest spot appearance. How about Al Michaels talking down to him there? Al Michaels is a jerk. For those of you who don't know, it's hard for me to get behind this man because I've known so many people who worked with him, and they just tell me the horror stories of what it's like working with Al Michaels. He doesn't respect many people. He didn't respect Ryan Fitzpatrick on the broadcast. Kind of downplayed his career. Hey, you're not Jim Kelly over here, but you had a pretty good stint in Buffalo. And, Ryan Fitzpatrick did point out the morale, the Dolphins camaraderie. Like Waddle scored last week. There was no duck dance this week. There was a duck dance. So maybe the Dolphins are uniting and feel the heat. But Tyreek Hill, 5 catches, 49 yards, but he had a lot of key third down conversions in that game. He was like a mosquito, didn't go away. This Dolphins teams didn't go away. And I'll tell you what, moving forward, I'd like to see more of this Ollie Gordon out of Oklahoma State. And he's a bruising running back. You saw him get involved in the offense there. He had a strong preseason, 9 carries, 38 yards, and a touchdown run. You see the tough, hard-nosed running ability of Ollie Gordon, and that's going to pair well with Devin Achane in the long run. Achane, 12 carries for 62 yards, 7 catches out of the backfield, added another 29 receiving yards. How about Bradley Chubb now? 2 years removed from that major injury, I believe. He's got 3 sacks now. He's got a sack in the first 3 games of the season. All right. And then over on the Buffalo side of the ball, Josh Allen, it's like every single week is a new milestone. This week, he becomes the fastest player ever to 200 passing touchdowns. Pretty impressive there. He was 22 of 28, completed 79%, 3 touchdowns. He had the trifecta hat trick touchdown passes, 1 to Kincaid, 1 to Jackson Hawes, 1 to Khalil Shakir. And how about those Buffalo Bills tight ends? I mean, is there a better blocking combination? And we talked about Jackson Hawes out of Georgia Tech during our draft coverage. I mean, he was clearly the best, the premier blocking tight end in this year's draft. He might be the best blocking tight end in the entire National Football League, and they rewarded him with his first career NFL touchdown. But it was good to see Dalton Kincaid back in the mix. You even saw Elijah Moore for that Bills get involved in the passing and running attack, just trying to get the ball in his hands. And man, when he gets a head of steam, like he can just cut up the field. And he had 1 nice run that was called back for a penalty, but 2 catches, 30 yards, another carry for 11 yards for Elijah Moore. Keon Coleman not really getting involved here in the offense. You like to see more out of that young man. 3 catches for 20. All right. Bosa for the Dolphins was held relatively in check by the Bills offensive line. He had just 1 tackle, 1 quarterback pressure. But obviously here, the Bills missed Ed Oliver and Matt Milano in the middle of that defense. I think you saw the Dolphins go over the middle, convert first downs. So Dolphins, I mean, a few teams are more banged up than that squad. And you saw their cornerbacks. They have none. The Bills now have 30 points in each game, but they did falter a little bit there. Like Miami came up with some key stomps, and it wasn't, you were kind of expecting a little bit more from the Buffalo Bills. Now, I gave you the wrong. One last note here. Speaking of speed, there was a lot of speed on that field, but can you guess who the fastest player on the field was? Give you a second to think about that. He clocked in at 20.19 miles per hour on the opening kickoff. And that D. Eskridge, Western Michigan, I believe, he's got some explosive motor in him, huh? And he gave the Dolphins pretty good field advantage on that last kick return. But D. Eskridge was the fastest player on the night. Now, we gave you the wrong pick yesterday. I'm sorry about that. And I figured the Bills would cover here. They win by 10. Unfortunately, Matt Prater, who's usually very reliable, missed a somewhat of a gimme chip shot there at the end of the first half. Rare miss for Prater. If he had converted that field goal, then the Bills would have covered. So we start off the week 0-1. That brings our season to date record against the spread in the NFL at 21-12 now. So make sure you tune in on Sunday for the NFL Pick'em show. Just a quick programming reminder. Tomorrow we'll have Russ Landy on our college football pregame show. It has an NFL draft slant. We're going to highlight some marquee matchups, including the Indiana Hoosiers, 19th ranked Indiana at 9th ranked Illinois, and then Texas Tech, 17th in the nation against 16th ranked Utah. We're going to highlight those two games and a handful of others. And by the way, the allaccessfootball.com, it's the last day of our pop-up sale. Unlock the magic, save 30%. We just posted the Draft Insider featuring those two matchups, and we have over 30 players in each game, draft eligible on the NFL radar, verified measurements, projections, scouting reports. Of course, your subscription also comes with the 2026 NFL Draft Bible, which features over 500 scouting reports. We published that in April, so take advantage of our 30% discount going on. Final day is today. All right. Let's turn the page now. By the way, Bo Marchant coming up at 10:40 a.m. Eastern time a little bit later today to talk some NFL and CFL. We'll get to some college football action, including those Friday night lights in our next segment. But I do have some NFL news and notes. Okay. And so we'll go around the league here and take a look at what transpired since we left the airwaves yesterday. So here's the latest news from the last 24 hours. All right, we talked about the QB carousel. Up to 5 NFL teams could be starting backups this week. However, we don't know the status of Brock Purdy just quite yet because he practiced yesterday. Okay, he's considered day-to-day with the shoulder and the toe. He did speak to the media, said he's happy with this progress, but he's still going to be a game time decision against the Arizona Cardinals. So whether it's Brock Purdy, Mac Jones, hopefully we get an answer by Sunday morning show, and we'll talk more about that. All right, Joe Burrow is expected to undergo surgery today on that grade 3 turf toe if swelling allows, according to Ian Rappaport. It's going to be predicated around the swelling. I guess the swelling needs to go down before they can operate. So Burrow could undergo surgery today. And of course, we all know that 3-month timeline that's going to hold him out for probably till the end of the year, maybe the entire year. And if the Bengals aren't in the playoff hunt, which they probably will be because they're 2-0, and Jake Browning did go 4-3 filling in for Burrow 2 years ago. So again, another situation we'll continue to monitor. Another quarterback who popped up on the injury report yesterday doesn't seem to be serious, but Jordan Love with the left thumb. You know, he had a thumb injury last year. Is this the same thumb? Just something worth noting here. But the Packers did avoid one scare yesterday because Tucker Kraft went down during practice and suffered what appeared to be a knee injury. It's not considered serious. He checked out okay. Sounds like he's going to still go this week. And of course, the Packers are already down at the wide receiver position with Christian Watson and Jaden Reed both on the shelf. But they will have, it looks like, Tucker Kraft. And I talked about that 12 personnel package with Luke Musgrave. I could see a lot more of that from the Packers this week against the Cleveland Browns. All right, how about Kansas City starting to get a little bit healthier? And boy, don't they need some ammunition, because that offense just really couldn't get it going against the Eagles last week. And you see, with Rashee Rice being suspended last week, they were down Xavier Worthy. But Worthy now is still limited with the shoulder, but it's looking more and more hopeful that he can play now this week against the Giants. And then Jalen Royals, the very impressive rookie out of Utah State, had it not been for an injury, he may have been a potential first-round pick. He's now upgraded to a full participant. I don't believe he has yet to play this year, but look out for him, because when Juju Smith-Schuster is your top receiving option, clearly you need some help. Maybe Royals can provide that. Now, on the other side of the ball in that matchup, the Giants, Andrew Thomas, who has been missing in action, has ramped up his practice reps, and he's going to probably continue to do that today. The Giants been holding out hope that Andrew Thomas can come back and play. I question whether or not his career is in jeopardy with all the injuries. He's got a litany of them, and we'll continue to monitor that for the Big Blue Wrecking Crew. All right, what else we got going on in the world of the National Football League? Ladd McConkey, you know, he had a little bit of a scare yesterday. He came up with a biceps injury and did not practice on Wednesday, but he did return as a full participant yesterday. So it looks like Ladd McConkey will be good to go for the AFC West showdown on Sunday between the Chiefs and the Chargers. And let's see what else. New Orleans, they're banged up at the wide receiver spot as well. Like they really need that. But Trey Palmer has a hamstring. He did not practice yesterday. And then Devon Veely, who I really like, and he was a promising wideout at Denver. Denver traded him to New Orleans right before the season. But Veely now with a hip injury, he was limited in practice yesterday. Okay. And they also added a quarterback, right? So maybe just another option to have in-house aside from Spencer Rattler and rookie Tyler Shuck. They bring back Hunter Deckers, the undrafted rookie free agent out of Iowa Western, who was down at the Hula Bowl, of course, via Iowa State, had an injury, didn't play in college for 2 years. He's got a pretty interesting backstory, more of a traditional pocket passer. And he was actually a Saints rookie camp, mini camp tryout. And he was with the team all the way up until August the 6th, I believe. So they bring back Hunter Deckers. I'm assuming he's going to be stashed on the practice squad. But again, he was exposed to the playbook a little bit during minicamp. And so the Saints now have another quarterback on the roster. All right. One other little tidbit here. The Pittsburgh Steelers, who we'll talk more about later on in the show with our friend Bo Marchant in about 20 minutes or so. He covers the beat there for the Steelers. He's out at every practice, every game. And unfortunately, right guard Max Sharping out of Northern Illinois, I believe, torn ACL. He's going to miss the entire season. So I totally expect the Steelers to be working out some offensive linemen, especially on the interior there. So that's your latest news and notes from the world of the NFL. We're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to get into the Friday Night Lights, which includes that hyped up Rutgers game. It's the blackout tonight, right up the road here in Piscataway. A lot of excitement, 150 media credentials distributed for this matchup. And there will be 20 NFL scouts in attendance, personnel and scouts from 20 NFL organizations for this Iowa Rutgers matchup. We'll talk about it. We'll be about it. Also, Tulsa and Oklahoma State got a couple of players to put on your radar for that one. We just talked about Ollie Gordon, the running back out of Oklahoma State. And then we're going to go, we haven't done enough Canadian Football League talk here, and the playoff race is heating up. There's a great doubleheader tonight. So get the remote handy. You'll be flipping back and forth between the CFL and the college football Friday Night Lights. And if you're saying, Rick, well, I'm not really a CFL fan, well, buckle up and hunker down, because after our next segment, you will. And I'll tell you what, we're going to talk about it, be about it. It's our 19th episode here on the All Access Football Daily Show. We're live 10 a.m. Eastern each and every day. Quick commercial break. Don't go anywhere. Hey, RIC in a place to be. Rick Saratella checking in from the legendary Jersey Shore for the world famous All Access Football, and you're tuned in to the All Access Football Daily Show, our newest venture here at the world famous All Access Football, read by all 32 NFL teams and 50,000 subscribers from around the world. And I've been blessed and fortunate enough to work in this great game of football for the past 2 decades. It's our 24th season of providing you independent analysis when it comes to the NFL draft and everything pigskin, whether it's the NFL, college football, NFL draft, CFL, UFL. We'll be with you each step of the way, especially for draft season when we really get into high mode. Of course, it's all brought to you by the 2026 NFL Draft Bible, published in April, featuring over 500 in-depth scouting reports with our boots-on-the-ground analysis. We'll be on location at the All-Star Games, the NFL Scouting Combine, the Pro Day Circuit, counting you down to that 2026 NFL Draft in Pittsburgh. And be sure you check us out over at allaccessfootball.com. We've got a great promo discount for you listeners at home. If you enter our promo code RICVIP, you'll get a 30% discount off of all of our premium content. You'll unlock the magic. Get our NFL Draft Insider reports, Scouting Notebook, of course, the World Football All Access Football Report published on Wednesday. It's your new home for real football talk. So follow along, give us a shout. We hope you're enjoying the show. If you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, or X, please give it a like, a share, a subscribe, and we'll be with you each and every day here, 7 days a week, live, 10 a.m. Eastern, no days off. Rain, sleet, hail, snow. The show must go on. For Rick Saratella and the All Access Football Daily Show, keep it locked, everybody. All right, back at it again. All right, seeing a place to be. Rick Saratella here with you on your viewing monitor. I'm so happy to be here and so grateful for welcoming us into your viewing experience wherever you're watching at home, whether it's on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter. Please smash that like button, give it a share, subscribe for our new show alerts. Again, we've got Beau Marchant coming up at 10:40 a.m. Eastern in about 15 minutes or so. We'll also have our super scout, Russ Landy, of course, former NFL, CFL, XFL scout, each and every Saturday for the college football pregame show with an NFL draft slant. We'll talk more about the Illinois and Indiana matchup, as well as the Texas Tech Utah showdown amongst ranked opponents. We'll have everything you need to know for the prospects coming up in that matchup on tomorrow's episode. And of course, the allaccessfootball.com Draft Insider was published today. We've got over 30 players for each one of those games, verified measurements, projections, scouting reports. Nobody covers the NFL draft like All Access Football, courtesy of the NFL Draft Bible Scouting Department, who's doing a phenomenal job. Big shout out to those guys and gals. And buckle up and hunker down, because tonight, Friday Night Lights, a lot of good football action on the slate tonight. And we're going to start off with the Tulsa at Oklahoma State game. And Oklahoma State has a couple players I want you to be aware about, especially this wide receiver, Terrell Davis. Not the Mile High salute Terrell Davis, but the wide receiver Terrell Davis. He comes in at 5'11" and 1/8 inches, 193 pounds. Okay, a little bit of a smaller, speedy guy. Very, very good hands. I went back and watched this guy. I mean, he is just plucking the ball, natural hands catcher, excellent speed. Probably in the 4.4 range, but just you see him making so many catches in traffic, the instincts. He can track the ball on the deep passes, and he's also a gadget guy too. Like, you'll see him being used on end arounds and bubble screens. Another one of these guys, you just want to get the ball in space. Now, he didn't play football until his senior year of high school because he was a standout basketball player, and he was all in on basketball, and then he realized maybe his size wasn't going to allow him to have NBA aspirations. So his senior year of high school, he converts over to the gridiron. He guides his team to the state championship, and he is named the district offensive player of the year. So he had to start off, despite all that, he was very under recruited. He had to start off at Central Oklahoma. Okay. And there he led all NCAA receivers, regardless of level, with 1,609 receiving yards, 15 touchdowns, and 3 games over 200 yards. So he dominated the lower level of competition. He transfers up to Oklahoma State for his final year, and he leads the team in receiving. He's only got 3 catches for 78 yards, including a long 41-yard catch, but he's leading Oklahoma State in receiving right now. So keep an eye on this young man. He is moving up. His arrow is pointing up on the NFL draft radar. And, Cam Smith, 6 foot, 196 pounds, 5th-year senior with great length, smarts, experience, 43 games, 31 starts, including 29 consecutive starts. Now, he has a track and field background. He, too, was also a basketball standout and has some NFL bloodlines, as both his father and grandfather played at Grambling State, and his grandfather, Charles E. Smith, did play for the Philadelphia Eagles. So 2 names you need to know for that matchup there. And then the big matchup in terms of New Jersey football is this Iowa at Rutgers game. We mentioned before the break 150 credentials issued for this blackout affair in Rutgers, Piscataway, New Jersey. And this is a big test for the Rutgers football team, who's now sitting at 3-0. They could be 4-0, I think, maybe for the 3rd time ever under Greg Schiano, and he's been there quite a while now. So it's exciting times for Rutgers. This one's going to kick off at 7:05 or 8:05 on Fox. Iowa comes in as the slight favorite, 2.5 here. Now they're 2-1, and they're 4-0 all time against this Rutgers team. Since Rutgers came to the Big Ten, they have yet to defeat the Hawkeyes. So the stadium is going to be, it's a sold out crowd, which rarely happens. And the crowd is going to be juiced. So Rutgers has a shot now because the offense, suddenly, Shiano's been known for defense, but suddenly this offense led by Ethan Kaliakmanis, 0 turnovers on offense. And Rutgers, are you kidding me? They have, going back to last year, 7 straight games of scoring at least 30 points. That's pretty incredible if you follow this Rutgers team. So they can put points on the board. Their defense is going to be stingy. This game is going to be won in the trenches. And Iowa, they had 2 defensive touchdowns in last year's matchup. So a little bit of luck. We'll see how it all plays out. Let's talk about it. For Iowa, Mark Gronowski, he came over from, was it South Dakota, I believe. Now, he had an invitation to the East-West Shrine Bowl and then was going to declare for the draft until he got an NIL offer to go to Iowa. It's been a mixed bag for Gronowski, a lot of up and down, but he's a gamer. He can extend plays. He's accuracy has kind of wavered a little bit, but he's been pretty good in the past. He's stepping up in the level of play, and he's a late round priority free agent. But the guy I'm most excited about on Iowa, and if you tune into the Saturday show, we've spoken about him, Logan Jones. He is our number 1 rated center on the NFL Draft Bible Big Board, and we just updated all of the offensive positional rankings on the big board at the quarterback, running back, wide receiver, all the offensive positions, top 30 draft eligible players. Connor Lew is number 2. Logan Jones is number 1. And he has the school's all-time squat record, 695 pounds. That was back in the spring. It just speaks to the kind of strength this guy possesses in the trenches. Now, we said it's going to be one in the trenches, and Jennings Dunker, the offensive tackle there, is definitely worth highlighting at 6'4", 6'8" inches, 316 pounds. These Iowa offensive linemen always very polished, well coached up in the fundamentals department. And then Xavier Nwakpa, senior safety, 6'1" 5/8", 215 pounds. He's a playmaking safety and probably a mid-round selection for this year's upcoming draft. Now, on the Rutgers side of the ball, I've been watching, and there's been a lot of receivers making plays. You have a slew of them that have stepped up. Ian Strong is one of them. There's another receiver making plays all over the place. But the one guy that really stands out to me, DT Sheffield. Okay, this guy is a jitterbug. He's a little undersized at 5'8", 172 pounds, but he's a blazer, and he can get downfield. I gave him a comparison to the Oregon receiver, Tez Johnson, who was a 7th-round pick by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this past season. Very similar type of player. And DT Sheffield, nobody is really talking about him, but man, oh man, I'll tell you, he brings some juice. Eric O'Neill is an edge rusher from James Madison. He's has yet to make a significant impact, but a double-digit sack guy that we're keeping our eye on. CJ Campbell came in as a very highly rated player this year. He was even on the Senior Bowl watch list, which, I just question these watch lists because certainly they're not watching Rutgers. Antoine Raymond, who's a sophomore, true sophomore out of Montreal, has been the workhorse back. He runs with authority, not really a speedster, but he does accelerate in the open field. So if you want a guy for the future watch, keep an eye on Antoine Raymond. Rutgers always producing quality running backs. They also have Cam Miller, a cornerback transfer out of Penn State, 6 foot, 185 pounds. I mentioned Eric O'Neill. Keep an eye on the other pass rusher there, Bradley Weaver, who lines up opposite of him. And then Dario DeJombomi, the linebacker, another one of these Canadian kids from Quebec. They've been getting an influx of Canadian players in recent years. The Rutgers football team has. So just a preview of some players you need to know for the blackout, Iowa at Rutgers. Now, I'm rolling with Rutgers, right? It just wouldn't be right if I didn't go with Rutgers, and I'll take the 2.5, but I think Rutgers is going to get over the hump, win the game outright, get off to a 4-0 start. They disrespected the Scarlet Knights. Vegas did, and the preseason over-under win total, 5.5. This is money in the bank. They should get their 4th win here tonight. All right. Coming up in about 7 minutes, we're going to have Beau Marchant, who is also a moonlight scout for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. He does some scouting and media like myself. Of course, I was with the Edmonton Elks last year, and they are facing the Hamilton Tiger Cats on Saturday. So we'll talk to Beau a little bit about that matchup. But I did want to get into some CFL action because down the stretch they come. The CFL is heating up. Every team is still in this playoff race, and we got a great doubleheader tonight. By the way, you can watch all of the CFL games for free on CFL Plus. If you go to CFL.ca and where to watch and sign up, all you got to do is enter your email and they'll let you watch every game for free on the CFL website. Now, before we get to Beau, Montreal 6-7 at Toronto 5-8, neck and neck in the East for second place. Chad Kelly still out for the Toronto Argonauts. Now they're down Nick Arbuckle, who won the MVP in the Grey Cup last year. Jarrett Doege comes in, and we had him in Edmonton last year. Well liked by teammates, very sharp in the short to intermediate passing attack, and he is very cerebral. His coach is a quarterback coach down in Baylor, I believe. But Jarrett Doege, he can keep this game competitive here for the Toronto Argonauts, who's trying to get back into the playoff hunt and defend their crown. Now, Montreal won in week 1, 28-10 behind Davis Alexander, who's also out. So in comes McLeod Bethel Thompson for another week. Of course, McLeod Bethel Thompson led Toronto to that upset victory over first place Saskatchewan last week, and a guy that we also had in Edmonton last year. So the former teammates, McLeod Bethel Thompson, Jarrett Doege, going in this one. That's tonight at 7 p.m. Later on at 9:30 tonight, you're going to have the BC Lions at the Calgary Stampeders. BC 6-7, Calgary 8-4. 10-year veteran Vernon Adams faces his old team here, and Calgary's been the most improved team in the CFL this year. They're coming off a bye week, and I'm looking for Vernon Adams to continue his hot streak. I like Calgary to win this game. Okay, I didn't give you a prediction in the other one. That's the Montreal-Toronto game's a coin toss, but Toronto's scrapping and clawing for their life, so give me Toronto there. And then Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern time, Winnipeg 6-7 at Ottawa 4-9. Ottawa gets Drew Brown back. He's one of the biggest young superstar quarterbacks in the CFL, and he was playing lights out before the injury. Now he'll go up against Zach Collaros. In fact, Zach Collaros has a head injury. He's questionable. Chris Strevler, remember him? Former Jets and Arizona Cardinals quarterback. He filled in last week. And, of course, they got Brady Oliveira, the CFL most valuable player last year. So Strevler, Oliveira, they'll look to work that ground game against Ottawa. I don't know. Again, Ottawa also scrapping and clawing. This is an elimination game. Ottawa really needs this matchup if they want to hold on and cling to those playoff hopes. So give me Ottawa here at home. And then the last one is going to be at Saturday, 7 p.m. As I mentioned, Edmonton 5-8 at Hamilton, 8-5. And Bo Levy Mitchell, man, this guy's drinking from the fountain of the youth. He's on pace for 5,000 passing yards. Unbelievable. Spraying the ball all over the parking lot. That 35-year-old Bo Levy Mitchell. He's got 3,883 passing yards, 26 touchdowns, leads the CFL to 7 interceptions. And then Cody Fajardo, who's just been lights out since he took over for Trey Ford up there in Edmonton, I should say. And we know it's way up north. It's cold up in Edmonton, but they're going to be in Hamilton for this one. And Fajardo's completing a 77 percentile best in the CFL. Now, again, he only started halfway through the season, so he's got 2,179 passing yards, 10 touchdowns, 3 interceptions there for the Edmonton Elks. And I'm going to go Hamilton here. I think Hamilton right now is going to be my pick for the Grey Cup. And I know that excites our next guest, who is a scout for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. We're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, we got NFL Draft Bible Familia in the building. Bo Marchant is going to join us right after the commercial. So don't go anywhere. Buckle up. Hey, RIC in a place to be. Rick Saratella checking in from the legendary Jersey Shore for the world famous All Access Football. And you're tuned in to the All Access Football Daily Show, our newest venture here at the world famous All Access Football, read by all 32 NFL teams and 50,000 subscribers from around the world. And I've been blessed and fortunate enough to work in this great game of football for the past 2 decades. It's our 24th season of providing you independent analysis when it comes to the NFL draft and everything pigskin, whether it's the NFL, college football, NFL draft, CFL, UFL. We'll be with you each step of the way, especially for draft season when we really get into high mode. Of course, it's all brought to you by the 2026 NFL Draft Bible, published in April, featuring over 500 in-depth scouting reports with our boots-on-the-ground analysis. We'll be on location at the All-Star Games, the NFL Scouting Combine, the Pro Day Circuit, counting you down to that 2026 NFL Draft in Pittsburgh. And be sure you check us out over at allaccessfootball.com. We've got a great promo discount for you listeners at home. If you enter our promo code RICVIP, you'll get a 30% discount off of all of our premium content. You'll unlock the magic. Get our NFL Draft Insider Reports, Scouting Notebook, of course, the World Football All Access Football Report, published on Wednesday. It's your new home for real football talk. So follow along, give us a shout. We hope you're enjoying the show. If you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, or X, please give it a like, a share, a subscribe, and we'll be with you each and every day here, 7 days a week, live, 10 a.m. Eastern, no days off. Rain, sleet, hail, snow, the show must go on. For Rick Saratella and the All Access Football Daily Show, keep it locked, everybody. All right, back at it again. All right, seeing the place to be. Rick Saratella, telling it like it is when it comes to the NFL draft and everything pigskin. We're fresh off the confines of the Jersey Shore. Still tasting salty, everybody. Give me a shot of that tequila because our next segment is going to be jam-packed, full of action. I'm all riled up. He's actually making his all-access football debut, but he's been a long-time guest here on my previous shows, the Football Playbook, the State of Football, NFL Draft Bible Radio, of course, a scout for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, who we just spoke about. He covers the Pittsburgh Steelers on the beat, even makes his way over to those Pitt Panthers. Maybe we'll sneak in some Eli Holston talk with him. And Of course, doing big things over at collegetopro.com. He interviews more prospects than anybody I know. Of course, part of the NFL Draft Bible Familia. He is Bo Marchant, and he joins us right now on the show. Bo, buckle up. What's happening, baby?
Rick, there's nothing better than being invited to talk some football with you. Listen, you mentioned all those things, but above it all, we're friends, we're buddies, we're cousins, and I love you. And again, I love seeing your post of you on the beach with the shirt off. You're picking up my vibes. I thought we could both go shirtless for this particular show, but we won't. But nonetheless, man, appreciate you. And I'm excited just to spend some time with you.
You are the original shirtless runner, and I can vouch, even in the combine snow in Indianapolis, you'll see Bo running around Lucas Oil Stadium shirtless. And the consecutive run day streak. Now I know you hit the 10,000 consecutive day mark. What are we up to these days, Bo?
We're over 10 grand, like 10,120, I think, something like that. Honestly,
right. When are we going to shotgun a beer from the shoe again? Is that coming up?
Yeah, I don't know next time. It's got to be something special. So I don't got anything on the docket that I could imagine, So, but who knows? You never know with me, right, Rick?
Yeah, no, that's true. So let's buckle up and hunker down, talk some football. We'll start off on the NFL side of things. We're approaching NFL Week 3. A lot of moving and shaking. What's caught your eye? What surprised you so far early on the NFL docket?
Well, I mean, covering the Steelers, and they talked about the run defense and fortifying it last year. They gave up 299 yards against the Baltimore Ravens in the wild card match, where they were completely outclassed, outmastered at stopping the run. And that was the offseason focus. And, we've been 2 weeks into the season. The Jets and Breece Hall and Justin Fields, they took care of them. Justin Fields looked like the next coming of something special, but then he regressed week 2. I know he left the game, but none. That was the real Justin Fields in my mind. And then last week, critical moments, the 19-yard scamper by Kenneth Walker III near the end of the game, basically goes untouched, leads to the defense. So back-to-back 100-yard rushers. I was down on the south side yesterday, and Terrell Austin, the defense coordinator, I asked him about, going back to the Ravens game to this year. He said last year they were getting pushed off the ball. That was his biggest concern. They were getting blown off the blocks. He goes, that's not happening this year. It's just a matter of those guys being in the right position to take it at right angles. But, Rick, X's and O's, but you just think that, Patrick Queen, I'm not saying it's Patrick Queen, but you would just think that players at this caliber, it wouldn't be so much them being out of position. But Keanu Benton has to get better. Peyton Wilson has, as much as I love him, he's kind of struggled, and so has Benton. And those are two key young pieces. But that Steelers defense, for all the money that they put into it this offseason, you're talking, $150 million worth of some key pieces. And right now they rank, I think, 4th worst in defensive yards allowed, and they have the 6th worst offense. So almost bottom 5 in both total offense and defense. So I think that catches my eye just because I cover the team.
Yeah, I've been surprised. The Steelers have been getting gashed a little bit on defense, and we haven't spoken about Aaron Rodgers because he came out like a new man against the Jets. You saw him working that play action beautifully, and then kind of fell off a little bit. Is that the real Aaron Rodgers? I hear the Steelers players love him. They voted him a team captain. What's your thoughts and impressions on Rodgers?
If he does, on the outside looking in, or if you're not, I guess, around him, it's easy to kind of get caught up in the negativities. But when you're around him and you see how the players respond to him, and not only that, the depths that he goes to and interacting with the other players. Like when we were in Latrobe during training camp, each day in the morning practice, he would walk over to anybody. It could be, an undrafted guy, a guy that's never going to make the team. It could be TJ Watt. But he always wanted to make friends and acquaintances with new players to get acclimated to him. And he said he would do it in the lunch cafeteria as well. He would just be like, okay, you know what? I'm going to go sit down next to Rick Saratella this morning. And I said, well, how was that, Aaron? I mean, you're Aaron Rodgers, you're a 4-time MVP, future Hall of Famer. What's it like for them? And he, in typical Aaron Rodgers fashion, he goes, I think they say to themselves, what the hell is he doing here? But he's witty, he's always joking, and he's serious. But when you talk to the players, the way that he's able to, Zach Frazier, the center, he says these things in the run game that they're not even aware of in terms of, where this defensive guy is going, where the pressure is going to come from. And, that's the intelligence of a guy like that. And again, week 1, we saw it. I mean, we were joking around in the press box week 1 that the Steelers were losing the game, but this was the first time they looked like they were winning a game because they actually had an offense and it looked pretty. We're accustomed to 9-13, 16-3, ugly football, but they're, predictable and they win. But nonetheless, struggles. But, Aaron Rodgers, it's still making, these guys don't play in the preseason. But nonetheless, he's a welcoming, refreshing breath of fresh air, if you want, for the Pittsburgh Steelers, despite last week's struggles.
Yeah, and you mentioned Zach Frazier, somebody who I am very high on. I love that young man. And unfortunately, we got some bad news that came down the wire last night. Max Sharping, I saw, is going to miss the season now. He came down with a torn ACL, I believe it is. But how will Pittsburgh navigate the waters moving forward there on the offensive line, you think?
Yeah, well, they got Calvin Anderson, Spencer Anderson, some utility type guys, and they'll move things around. Even besides the disappointment of his ACL injury, to me, in my opinion, I think Broderick Jones is the most critical piece for this entire team. One, because he's a first-round pick and he's a left tackle, protecting the most important position on the team. But nonetheless, week one, he had a struggle, so he's not there yet. You're hoping. I mean, we're going into year 3, so you're kind of patty caking the kindness, if you will. Love the kid, love how he practices, but sometimes those miscues, it kind of hurts. And then you got Troy Fautanu, the right tackle. And remember, last year Broderick was on the right side, Dan Moore was on the left side. So it's a learning curve for everybody. We're 2 weeks in, but Broderick Jones needs to become not elite, but about as darn close to an elite guy at that position you can. Because think about this, Rick. If Broderick Jones, after this season, they're going to know, listen, we got to go in another direction. Maybe we move Troy Fautanu over to the left. Who knows what they do? But if Jones isn't the answer now, you're heading into 2026. You don't know really who your quarterback is going to be. And then you got to worry about the other most important position on offense, that left tackle. And they'll be missing both, hypothetically, if Aaron plays and if Jones doesn't develop into the guy that they wanted him to be. So, but, they're no different from every other team, as you know that. I mean, O-linemen go down all the time, and it's about having utility guys and finding the next man up. So, they'll find their way. Pat Meyer, their O-line coach, I think he's done a good job. I support the work he does out there. So, hopefully he'll get those guys acclimated quickly.
Now, looking ahead, their schedule, they get somewhat of the walking wounded. I mean, Patriots coming up. We'll talk about them. We'll probably talk about them only, but after the Patriots, they get the Vikings, who are down JJ McCarthy. I think that one is going to be in Dublin, Ireland, I believe.
Yeah, that's the Dublin game.
And then I think they're in London against the Browns, is it?
No, they're back.
Oh, no, okay. The Vikings are staying back. Okay. So they have Minnesota and Dublin, then a bye week, then the Browns, who we don't even know whose quarterback is, and then the Bengals, who are down a quarterback. But let's talk about the Patriots matchup coming up in week 3 off of the disappointing Seahawks loss. Pittsburgh was one of my best bets last week. They really disappointed me. Is this a get-right game? Obviously, going into New England is always tough. They've got this young hotshot quarterback. Mike Vrabel is always going to be bringing his A game. How do you see the Steelers-Patriots matchup?
Yeah, I think it's going to be an ugly game. I still think the Patriots, I love all the young pieces. I love Drake May. I love Kyle Williams, the rookie receiver. He hasn't shown much, but, another guy that, I'm excited about the future of the Patriots, put it that way. I think this is a game, that's the beauty of the NFL. Each week is more critical than the next. Last night it was do or die for the Dolphins. You're either 1-2 or you're 0-3. And they fought hard. They really did. But now they're 0-3, and now, they're moving on to possibly an 0-4 start. Where do they go? But back to this Patriots game, I expect an ugly game, Rick. I expect a low-scoring game, and I expect it to be a critical turnover at a critical point that maybe changes the sides for a win or loss for whatever team. If it's an Aaron Rodgers interception or perhaps a Ramondre Stevenson fumble that the other team recovers and puts them in field goal position or an opportunity to score a touchdown, I think it will be a one-possession game. And, last week, there's a couple places I stopped prior to going to the Steelers game, and the fans asked, what do you think is going to happen today? And I say, I don't know. I really don't know, because I don't know what to make of the Steelers yet. I don't have the confidence in it that they could go, we talk about those quarterbacks, and it's a big topic. You think, wow, if they can get it straight, 4 quarterbacks, Drake May, young guy, then you talk about the replacements at the backup positions, you would assume that they can get to him. but they haven't proven it yet. They haven't proven it yet. And absent of the special teams fumble in week 1, who knows if they even beat the Jets? The Jets played a hell of a game that day. So again, I think it's just going to be a low scoring game. I think a critical turnover will be the deciding factor. And I know that doesn't give your listeners a lot or maybe the insight that you want, but that's just how I feel. I think it's going to be that way. And if it makes you feel any better, Rick, I thought the same thing of the Jets game, and lo and behold, it's a 31-34 over, offensive shootout. So
Yeah.
I just don't imagine that happening in week 3.
No, I think it's going to be a close matchup. I do think the Steelers eke this one out. And you mentioned Kyle Williams, who was the highest drafted player not invited to the NFL Scouting Combine. And I was surprised by that because he had a very good Senior Bowl. And they also have the rookie tackle there and Will Campbell that they just took in this year's draft, a little bit banged up early on in the season. But you do a lot of scouting for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Obviously, we have to mention our good friend Teddy Gavai. It's been like a week-long tribute here on the All Access Football Show to Ted, but somebody that you and I both know well, somebody that you've had the chance to work with now, both in Hamilton and Winnipeg. Just shed a few insight and thoughts on Teddy.
Well, Team Ted have to represent, because you said we were going to talk about him this afternoon or this morning. Rick, I think like you and me, how we became friends. Football is the foundation of the relationship, but then it blossoms into so much more. And I could say the same thing about Ted. As much as I love you, it's kind of one of those things that, football was the woven fabric of how we got, connected. But then you just grow and you build. And I think like that's anything in life where, you meet somebody along the way and, and they become dear to your heart. And you're that same, type of guy. And Ted, everybody loved Ted, easygoing guy, loved football. And, the part that really breaks my heart the most was, he's worked his what off his entire life, building his way up like most scouts and coaches do, the bottom of the barrel. I was up in Hamilton last week and I met a guy named Gory. I guess he was the first guy that ever gave Ted a football job. And he said he actually found the first check Ted got. It was like for $500, and I don't even know what he was working on, but he said the key to getting Ted to work like most of us is there was free meals involved. So Ted got the free meal, but then lo and behold, he battles, he brings tremendous success to each organization he goes to. He helps turn Winnipeg around, brings them Grey Cups. They were just a down and out franchise. And then, he gets to Hamilton, close to home. It's basically where he grew up. And this is his dream job, and he's not even a few months into this, what you would consider the pinnacle of, your football success, the thing you wanted to achieve. And obviously the bad news that, he was pretty bad, terminally, almost, bad with cancer. And then he passed last week. And it was ironic. I was actually going to see him that morning. I was in Toronto and I was making my way to Burlington, where he lives. It's about 15 minutes from Hamilton, and I got the phone call that he went off to a better place. But he was suffering, and but nonetheless, I owe him a great. I'm in his debt forever for all the opportunities he get me. And again, you just know how he was. There's nothing better than being on the circuit and seeing Gavai.
Yeah, Teddy Gavai, man, I've seen him all over the place, and I'm gonna miss him, especially on the All-Star Game circuit. He was like a staple there. I always looked forward to seeing him and grabbing the occasional beer and chopping it up. And what a powerful tribute. What a powerful tribute that was, though. You were actually in attendance for that tribute, and that was the game against Winnipeg that they won against his former team. It was really emotional, man. I was taken aback by it all.
Yeah, it was surreal. And ownership, the franchise of Hamilton. I can't tell you the depths that they went to really honoring his legacy. And you see how they put it together that night. Everybody had the little Ted towels, really just above and beyond. The players, I know some family and friends down on the field, and plenty of them went over to them and just gave them their well wishes and their love. Teddy was a good guy. He was honest with you. I know I've been barked at enough by him, but it was never anything facetious or angry. It was just kind of him trying to teach me. And he would let me do my thing, but sometimes, he would reel me in, and, I got a lot of those stories too. So
a little bit of tough love. And You mentioned the dream
And
job. He brings a couple of great cups to Winnipeg, finally gets the hometown Hamilton Tiger Cats. And now, I will say one of the last things he did is assemble an all-star front office staff. So individuals such as yourself and Dane Vandernat and Cyril Penn and Alex Russell, you guys now get to carry the torch, keep his legacy alive, and you got a big matchup here against my former team, the Edmonton Elks. You want to give us a little sneak peek preview of what's to come?
Well, I don't know. I don't want to get yeah. So
fair enough. We won't put you on the spot there. We try to
Tiger Cats.
Yeah, we get it. We get it. Well, we
Rick,
appreciate
you know me. I'm always
man,
treading.
and,
I'm
we're
always treading on the thinnest ice. Go ahead.
Say it again.
I said, you know me. I'm always treading on the thinnest ice. So I don't want to complicate my issues.
No doubt. Listen, last thing for you on your way out the door, and if you want to talk about anything else, you can. But you, better than anybody else, can speak as to why people need to subscribe to All Access Football. Make sure they get that copy of the 2026 NFL Draft Bible. It's kind of what partially brought us together. But tell the listening audience at home why the Draft Bible is where it's at, baby.
Yeah, first of all, if you're not familiar with Rick, if you're just tuning in or you're a couple episodes into All Access Football, Saratella, I can't even listen. I've run 10,000 plus days straight, but there's an essence of Rick Saratella that I can't even fathom in terms of how you have the time. And I've asked you about this. It's not that I don't believe you. I just find it inhuman that somebody can do 90,000 scouting reports, 18 hours of podcasts, 60 hours of email content, and you do it. I mean, Rick, and I love it. And, listen, and, me and Rick, we're part of the industry, and, we touch bases with different, I can tell you folks firsthand that the NFL Draft Bible and Rick's work is, it is used at the next level. It is a reference. And I'm not saying that's what they use to draft their teams, but Rick is, he is intertwined in that. So when you're listening to Rick do his shows, you're listening to unique insight, and you're listening to an individual, a man whose passion, Rick, again, I'm in awe of it. I love the Draft Bible. When I get that email of it, and right before we went on, because I'm not going to lie, well, I wanted to surprise you with it, and I'm going to mail it to you. I have the original Draft Bible, and I know that's something you have missing in and it's only fitting that the king should have the crown. So ran downstairs. I thought it was out on one of my shelves, but I couldn't find it. But I was going to hold it up and say, hey, I'm mailing this to you. So I'm going to make it a priority that I do get the original Draft Bible, that I get it prepared, and then I'm going to mail it to you. And promise that when you get it, though, let me know, and then I want to see it in your hands on your podcast.
No, that's amazing. We've talked about that. I don't have a copy, and I'll tell you why. As a matter of fact, because my last copy I gave to Ted Gavay when I met him. And I said, man, this is my last copy, but I want you to have it. And look at how life works in a full circle, man. Unbelievable job out of Beau Marchand. I did not pay him to say all that, by the way. So we appreciate
it. Doesn't need, listen, it's the truth, man. It's the truth. Again,
no,
honestly, sometimes the stuff you do, I'm just, I'm amazed. I'm amazed by it. And I mean that in all sincerity and just in awe.
Sometimes I don't know how we do it either, Beau, but I love you, brother. I appreciate you hopping on, and I can guarantee you we're going to have you on again throughout the year. So thanks so much for joining us on the All Access Football Daily Show.
Stay blessed. Hi, Oceana.
There he goes. Beau Marchand, good friend of the show. And man, some powerful words he just delivered. I'm kind of taken aback by everything. And I didn't expect all that. I was just looking for a little voucher of the Draft Bible. But hey, he told you, listen, my passion, my enthusiasm, I hope it shines through to your monitor each and every day here on the All Access Football Daily Show. We're live 7 days a week, 10 a.m. Eastern. We're streaming right now on Facebook, Twitter, X. And listen, mainstream media doesn't want me, so I started my own show. And that's how we got to the All Access Football Daily Show. And I've been on mainstream. I've done this thing for a long time. And you know what? We're going to do it and do it our way and do it the best way we know how to do it. So tomorrow We'll be back at it again with our guy, Russell Landy, another former CFL, NFL, XFL scout. We do it each and every Saturday. College pregame show with an NFL draft slant. Sunday, our NFL pick'em. After last night's loss on Thursday Night Football, we are now 21-12 against the spread in the NFL season. It's young. We'll try to do better this week on Sunday. And then our guest lineup for next week is already beginning to take form. Just a little sneak peek here. Monday, I'll be flying solo, recapping the college football and NFL and CFL weekend that was. Tuesday, I'm excited. Another CFL guy, but also spent some time with the Philadelphia Eagles, Cleveland Browns. He is now the new commissioner of the Continental Football League. We're going to pop on our good friend Mike Kelly on the show Tuesday. And then Wednesday, we've got Howard Balzer locked and loaded each and every Wednesday. 50 years of covering the NFL. We're so honored to have him on every Wednesday. And then Thursday, Chad Ryder from NFL.com will be making his All Access Football debut on Thursday next week. So just a couple of guests that are on tap for the All Access Football Daily Show next week. This was our 19th episode here on Friday, September 19th. We hope you enjoyed the Football Friday affair with some of our NFL Draft Bible familia. Big shout out to Beau Marchant. Thank you so much. For Rick Saratella, we'll see you tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern, everybody. Thanks for watching. RIC in a place to be. Rick Saratella checking in from the legendary Jersey Shore for the world famous All Access Football. And you're tuned in to the All Access Football Daily Show, our newest venture here at the world famous All Access Football, read by all 32 NFL teams and 50,000 subscribers from around the world. And I've been blessed and fortunate enough to work in this great game of football for the past 2 decades. It's our 24th season of providing you independent analysis when it comes to the NFL draft and everything pigskin, whether it's the NFL, college football, NFL draft, CFL, UFL. We'll be with you each step of the way, especially for draft season when we really get into high mode. Of course, it's all brought to you by the 2026 NFL Draft Bible, published in April, featuring over 500 in-depth scouting reports with our boots-on-the-ground analysis. We'll be on location at the All-Star Games, the NFL Scouting Combine, the Pro Day circuit, counting you down to that 2026 NFL Draft in Pittsburgh. And be sure you check us out over at allaccessfootball.com. We've got a great promo discount for you listeners at home. If you enter our promo code RICVIP, you'll get a 30% discount off of all of our premium content. You'll unlock the magic. Get our NFL Draft Insider Reports, Scouting Notebook, of course, the World Football All Access Football Report published on Wednesday. It's your new home for real football talk. So follow along, give us a shout. We hope you're enjoying the show. If you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, or X, please give it a like, a share, a subscribe, and we'll be with you each and every day here, 7 days a week, live, 10 a.m. Eastern, no days off, rain, sleet, hail, snow. The show must go on. For Rick Saratella and the All Access Football Daily Show, keep it locked, everybody.